Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Saphira Center of Shamanism, where we break down the ancient technologies of shamanism and the occult, bringing them into balance with the deep psyche. My name is Luke, experienced practitioner and mentor of the shamanic and occult sciences. It's an honor to have you with me. Before I start this topic, check out the links in the description of this video if you have interest in working with me. There are many different options that you can choose to work with me. First link for the premium membership service, the Saphira Shamanic School. Second link for the Patreon, and the third link for my one-on-one healing and mentoring services. Definitely check those out if you feel the call. So today's topic is going to be the real satanic agenda, looking at Satan as an entity and as a current of energy, understanding what the agenda of this current is from a self-evolution and soul liberation point of view. It's not an exaggeration when I say that most people who interact with this current are only doing so at the surface level and are only tapping into a very small portion of what this current of energy really is and what the real purpose and agenda of it really is. So we're going to be discussing how you can interact with this current of energy in a direct and intense way so that you can really get the most out of it from a self-development point of view. We're also going to be looking at the concept of Antichrist consciousness and why this is an essential concept to understand and even for some embody in the coming times. This is going to be a very important video for anybody who is wanting to work in depth and properly with the adversarial currents of energy from a shadow integration and soul evolution point of view. Very important subject, so definitely stay tuned. When we talk about the adversary, Satan, we need to understand that this is a spirit, a real consciousness, a real current of energy that if we view it in Jungian terms in regards to archetypes and the collective unconscious, this is a personification of your repressed power and divinity. Satan represents everything that you have left outside of yourself that is your soul's essence, that holds your ability to deify yourself, to ultimately forge your own path, free from the paths that have been walked down by many other people. To really connect with Satan the adversary on a deep, intimate level, you have to be willing to leave behind false notions of both gnosis, understanding, and light. This doesn't mean that you are neglecting light. It means that you are neglecting false light. And false light can come through in the form of many different things. False light is basically any illusion of knowing, any false order that has been established specifically to dissociate you from your truth. This is the majority of the New Age spiritual community, with all of their 5D talk and light worker view on reality in terms of having to fight evil, remove evil. They work with clients, they remove dark energy from clients. All of these things fuel separation, not only from the light and the dark, but if we translate it to the psyche, from the pure awareness and the inner child. So if you approach darkness from the perspective of it having to be removed, I need to remove darkness, I need to embody the light, then what you are doing is that you are neglecting your own shadow, and in doing so, you are neglecting the needs of your inner child. Many people think that they are connecting with Satan the adversary on a deep, intimate level. But you will know for sure if that is happening. Most people use Satan more as a symbol, and LaVeyan-based Satanism that very much operates from the framework of Anton LaVey, the author of the Satanic Bible. They very much view Satan as more of a symbol of the adversary Satan as more of a symbol of rebellion against patriarchy and false order, as opposed to an actual intelligence. Theistic Satanism is the area of Satanism that tends to approach Satan in a way that actually honors him as a real divinity, honors the current as a real consciousness, and very much is focused towards connecting with Satan through hymns, through invocation, and through initiation. But as I said, many people think that they are connecting with this current on a deep level, but what really defines that is your real intent for interacting with it. Most of the time, people interact with Satan because he is edgy. A lot of people approach the adversarial current from a place of unprocessed trauma and wounding, from a place of anger with the patriarchal society, of, you know, feeling left out and neglected by the patriarchal system. Many people approach Satan in that way, but that is not a co-creative intention. A co-creative intention, and what Satan really values as a spirit and current of energy, is ultimately your true desire to evolve and embody your own divinity. Satan is a force of self-deification, a force of pure divinity that represents everything that was left outside of the self, that is very much going to contribute towards you forging your own path, free from the illusion of false light and patriarchy. Okay, so false light, as I mentioned, is anything that separates you from your truth and authenticity. This can be anything. It's not just the simple thing. It's not just, oh, love and light spirituality. It's not just trying to rise up to 5D. It's not just, oh, trying to ascend. But is also in spiritual practices, therapies that are masked as self-development, but actually they are there to distance one from their truth and authenticity. This is exactly why people remain in therapy. Many people stay in therapy. They may get a little bit of benefit out of it, but many people stay in therapy for years without any noticeable change, because the whole motivation behind it is to actually fuel what is illusionary instead of actually connect with something that's deeper and more primal. A lot of these modern therapeutic approaches are operating from a patriarchal view. Sigmund Freud, who is greatly responsible for the development of how a lot of therapy is approached within our Western world, is operating from valid scientific concepts that are associated with specific techniques, specific practices that very much resonate with different types of people where they are. But everybody is different. Okay, everybody's shadow is different. Everybody's trauma is different. As much as those set ways of working may be effective to some extent, what is required is something far more personal, far more fluid, and something that cannot be put into a box with a set of techniques. This is a good analogy as to what the satanic agenda basically is. It wants you to neglect predefined rules. It wants you to neglect pre-planted constructs that have been established specifically to separate you from your true self. Now, it does not mean neglecting rules to the point where you go out and kill someone or you commit horrendous crimes. That is not what Satan wants, believe it or not. There's anybody, I seem to have a lot of religious people coming onto my channel at the moment and sort of criticizing me for not reading the Bible. So, you know, Satan, and I'm speaking directly to these types of people when I say Satan does not want to harm anybody. Satan wants you to forge your own path, free from the pathways that have already been predefined and established. So to work with him and to really connect with him on a deep, intimate level, you have to have the genuine intention to shatter what is illusionary and embrace your truth and authenticity, which means that really connecting with the adversarial currents of energy means embarking on a process of hardcore shadow integration and self-development. It means going against the grain, making the decision between what is right for you and what is easy. It's easier to follow the false self. It's easier to follow the illusion because it's basically, most likely, what your ancestors have done for years and years and years. It's what the majority of the collective have done for years and years and years, for generations. So the reason why this current of energy is so extremely important is because is very much here to shatter those external authorities, shatter the illusions of false constructs, masks, and roles, so that you can start to actually walk your own path, free from the interference of the external world. What this basically means is returning to dark matter. What that really means is returning to a void state of consciousness. Now, I've spoken about this a lot in recent videos. Returning to void consciousness is returning to a state of being which is guided by your heart, that is not predefined by anything. Basically, what initiation through the adversarial currents is focused towards is moving you closer to void consciousness and actually merging you with void consciousness. What that does is that it unmakes you, unravels the false self, shows you your protective mechanisms, shows you how you have been hiding from yourself, and more than anything, shows you your real value beyond all of that. Satan is the personification of your value that has not yet been predefined by anything. Satan is the personification of that true divinity that has been neglected and villainized in our society. When we look at Gnosticism, if you look at some of the ancient Gnostic texts, okay, which a lot of religious people would see as blasphemous texts, such as the Gospel of Thomas, the Apocryphon of John, the Gospel of Philip, the Gospel of Mary, all of these hidden gospels that were in the original texts but were casually left out of the Bible, all of these refer to the fact that real Christ consciousness is the incarnation of godhood within the self. Whereas religion sees Christ consciousness as a prophet, what Christ consciousness was really trying to communicate to you, according to these hidden gospels, is the fact that you have divinity within you. Divinity is within you. God is you, and God is not separate from you. That is what Satan wants from you. Satan wants you to want to be a god. Okay, he wants you to want to be a god. He does not want you if you are going to follow what everybody else does. He is not interested in you if you are going to follow a guru for the rest of your life. He's not interested in you if you are going to approach him from the perspective of worship. He does not want to be worshipped. What many people do, I think, is that they come out of religious programming and then maybe they'll approach Satan and then be worshipping Satan. The adversarial forces don't want you to worship them. There's a difference between worship and honoring. Okay, honoring is, say, reciting a hymn or performing an invocation or leaving an offering. Worshipping is very much projecting your own divinity into something which is outside. And many people do this with adversarial forces, particularly Satan. Satan is not your father. Okay, don't project your parent wounds into Satan. He hates that. Okay, this is a current of energy that wants you to evolve, wants you to evolve in your own way. He really encourages you to look at what real gnosis and understanding actually is. This resonates deeply with the divine feminine sphere on the Qliphoth, which is known as Shattering, ruled by Luciferian. After you cross the abyss, you enter Shattering, which is the concealers, the inversion of Binah, the inversion of understanding. It's here where you are shown that most of your gnosis And most of what you have classed as true understanding and true evolution is not evolution at all. It's a way of convincing yourself that you are enough. This is the purpose of and the agenda of Satan, to shatter the illusion of false gnosis, to shatter the illusion of false light, so that you can gain true gnosis from your own soul. And you gain true gnosis by allowing yourself to embody the receiver energy instead of the seeker energy. Whereas a patriarchal system encourages you to seek, to project your own power and potential outside, and then define your sense of self by external illusionary achievements and by external validation, Satan wants to shatter those illusions. And now you can see why I feel that many people who interact with the adversarial currents may not be doing so in a way that is optimally authentic. Because even Satan can be used to hide, or the idea of Satan can be used to hide from the truth, can be used to hide from true gnosis and experience. So false light, which is what Satan wants to destroy, what Satan feeds off of, false light is anything that distracts you from your truth, anything that makes you less vulnerable. And this can be anything from therapy to spiritual practices, be one of those light workers who's got a million healing modalities under their belt. Somebody even in the left-hand path who just approaches path working after path working after path working, seeker after seeker after seeker, seeking their worth from how many path workings and initiations they do. Anything can become false light if you are not aware of it. And what the sphere of Satariel does within the Qliphoth, I will make a specific video on this, is that Satariel breaks the veils, breaks the illusion of light, the illusion of gnosis, and shows you how to embody true gnosis. And this aligns with the satanic agenda. The satanic agenda is not to harm anyone. The satanic agenda is not to sow re-traumatizing chaos and discord into the collective consciousness and make you more distant from yourself. What makes you more distant from yourself is ignoring chaos and pretending it doesn't exist. Is ignoring shadow, ignoring darkness, and pretending it doesn't exist. That is what re-traumatizes your soul. That is what keeps you in a re-traumatizing reality whereby the same old shit just manifests over and over again. It's hiding from oneself. And that becomes even more destructive when that is projected into spirituality, projected into ritual, into healing. Because then people go to healers and say, I need to be changed. Can you change me? Can you remove my darkness? The one might go to a light worker and want them to remove their own darkness. You are removing your evolutionary potential. So I encourage you, and Satan, who is very much present as I'm talking, can feel his energy here and now, encourages you to ask the question, where are you hiding? Where are you creating the false notion of evolution and growth? Where are you sugarcoating spiritual dissociation in ascension? Where are you projecting your own power and value onto the next thing that you attain? This is what you need to feed Satan. You go to Satan, he doesn't care about incense, doesn't care about the perfect number of red and black candles, doesn't care about all of this outer layer stuff. The best intent to approach Satan the adversary from an evolutionary standpoint is to say, I am ready to offer you what is illusionary. Burn the illusion in the black flame. Return me to my primordial self. Guide me in my healing process. Peel away and devour the illusions that have been separating me from my soul and inner child. This is a co-creative intention for approaching the adversarial currents. True ignition of the black flame, being willing to return to fireborn consciousness. Fireborn consciousness being that which is in touch with their shadow, that which does not reject their shadow, who does not reject their own internal darkness and cover it up through illusions of light. The real satanic agenda is to move you from a place of external ascent into a place of internal descent. What this really means is being willing to descend into your own nervous system, being willing to descend into your own consciousness, being willing to descend into your own archetypal hell structure to take your power back. It's acknowledging the paradox in descent. When you're descending into your hell, you're descending into your unconscious mind, you are paradoxically ascending according to your truth. Whereas if you are focused on 5D ascension and trying to get into heaven after death, you are trying to ascend towards something that isn't actually there. You are approaching, if you're trying to rise up to 5D, you're approaching 5D, the fifth dimension, as something which is separate from you without acknowledging that you have a multi-dimensional self, a multi-dimensional consciousness that is already connected and already has that realm and all of the other realms inside of you. Acknowledge the paradox in descent. You go inside, you find the truth. You go outside, you find what the external world wants you to see. Satan's agenda is for you to question everything. Question everything that has been put in front of you by default. Question everything that is like, that's the way it is. You do this to get to there, you do that to get to there, you do that to get to there. Satan wants you to ask the question, why? Why do I do that? Why do we do this? What is this notion of needing to get here and doing this to get there? He wants you to expose the illusion of patriarchy. If you don't descend into your own underworld, if you don't descend into your own unconscious mind, your unconscious will play out around you. And then what many people do is that they end up dissociating themselves further and separating themselves more from what's happening around them. Falling into a victim space of, this is something that's happening to me, without actually taking charge and understanding why. Satan wants you to understand why. Understand why you are the way you are. Understand your predefined behavioral patterns. Understand your trauma cycles. Understanding what you are doing to cope. Understanding what you are doing to separate yourself from your own truth and your own authenticity. Satan does not want to harm. Satan wants you to heal. He wants you to heal and not treat. To heal is to embark on the ongoing process of self-development and transformation. To treat is to patch up, which will obviously manifest more chaos later down the line. Satan wants you to acknowledge that our world has been built in an inverted patriarchal structure. Satan wants you to know that our world has been established specifically to distract you from your own unconscious mind. Because what is within your own unconscious mind is pure potential. The purpose of interacting with the adversarial currents is to reconnect with this pure potential. to reconnect with that void space, to learn how to cultivate free from predefined rules or regulations. He does not care for predefined rules. If you work with Satan, it's not to say that he won't answer. If you work with Satan whilst you're still holding on to those predefined rules and you're still wanting to follow people and you're still wanting to hold on to your coping mechanisms, he will still interact with you. But that connection will not develop past a certain point. How connected you are to Satan, how much permission you give to Satan to come through you and devour your false self, is how much you are willing to see about yourself. So I encourage you, Satan encourages you to ask the question, where are you hiding? Where are you trying to distract yourself from what is hidden within your own body? Everything about your own hell structure, everything about the trauma that you've experienced, everything that you've gone through in your life and all of the other lifetimes that this luminous body has carried is stored within your own body. It's stored within your luminous matrix that is the electromagnetic field that radiates from your nervous system, which means that the emotions and the feelings that you have not processed are stuck, crystallized in the nervous system, and then get projected out by this electromagnetic field that then impacts what you attract in. The only way to break the cycle is to go into what actually created the cycle in the first place. The only way to get your power back is to go inside. If you are somebody who has experienced recurring trauma, similar things happening time and time again, the same traumas unfolding, the same narcissistic partners, the same friendship dynamics, being treated the same way by people, you need to understand why that is. You need to understand how you may have been dissociating yourself from trying to treat that problem. Our whole society is built off of coping mechanisms. Everything around you is a distraction from your own divinity. All of the mythology that you have been exposed to within the modern world villainizes the primal energy, villainizes the snake. The snake is the Kundalini. The Kundalini is the primordial dragon that sits dormant within you. To awaken your Kundalini is to stimulate your nervous system and make the commitment to journeying back to the tree of knowledge that you refused. Satan wants you to tread upon the corpses of those who choose slavery and ignorance over knowledge and power. Those corpses are not other people. They are your old identities, your masks, your personas that you have created specifically to keep you encased, to keep you suppressed, to villainize knowledge, to villainize gnosis. So then we create false notions as to what this gnosis actually is. We create the illusion of righteousness. We create behavioral patterns that form illusions of grandeur to keep us safe from our own potential. Satan is the personification of that pure potential. Antichrist consciousness, from the perspective of self-development, is the embodiment of anti-patriarchy, the embodiment of anti-cosmic forces that do not bow down to predefined constructs, that cultivate their reality in harmony with their truth and authenticity. Those who embody satanic practices and start moving into violence, Nazi-based, fascist-based belief systems, this is not real Satanism. This is not somebody who is embodying true satanic gnosis. This is somebody who is projecting their own unprocessed wounds into these currents of energy. People say, oh, but Satanists are bad. Oh, they sacrifice children. That is not Satanism. Real satanic practice and real satanic-based self-development, real adversarial esotericism is not to sacrifice children, is not to harm anybody. It's to acknowledge how you have been sacrificing your own inner child. How you have been sacrificing your own inner child day to day. So casually, so normalized. So normalized to the point where it is normal to separate yourself from your own innocence and your own needs. By default, you are wired to find what is false, to find what is re-traumatizing for your soul more comfortable. All you have to do is look around you, observe. Observe the re-traumatization that occurs within the world around you. This is what Gnosticism would call the demiurge. Gnosticism views the patriarchal system as Yaldabaoth, the false god, the ignorant god that sees nothing beyond itself, that sees nothing beyond its own existence. This is symbolic of the patriarchal system that we have been carrying in our own system. Not everybody is supposed to fully embrace the adversarial current. Not everybody is supposed to fully embrace their own godhood in this lifetime, because to do so is to make a huge sacrifice. To do so is to make a huge sacrifice of what is illusionary within yourself, and what is illusionary may well be something that you like. You may love that illusionary self, even though it may not be serving you on the soul level, even though it may be forcing you into a place of unconsciously re-traumatizing your inner child. By default, the false self is what is safe. This is what I mean when I say society is inverted in nature. Society is inverted to cause you to move away from the very intelligences that are responsible for destroying what is illusionary. Society directs you away from the ancient gods that existed before everything. At the heart of those ancient divinities, sitting on top of them, is Satan. Satan represents that one place that you don't want to look. It represents that one place, that one spark of void consciousness, that underlying oblivion, that underlying vulnerability that you cannot put your finger on, that you know is there, but you can't look at it because it's so intangible. That is your primordial self. This is the call back to your pure divinity. This is the core energy behind your own primordial self, your own godhood. Why does it feel like despair? Why does it feel like pure vulnerability? Because it is not defined by anything that's set in stone. Because it's not defined by anything that has already been pre-constructed. It's meaningless. It's empty. It's pure hunger. That's what the black flame really is pure hunger. Pure primordial chaos. Pure emptiness, pure nothingness. Not everybody is ready to embrace that truth. Not everybody is ready to truly step into that true potential. Not everybody is ready to really take responsibility for their own power, for their own divinity, because the reality of coping mechanisms, inner child sacrifice, and separation is easier. The goal of Satan is not to keep you separated, is not to separate you from society. It's to separate you from your false self. If you really want to connect with Satan on a deep level and really use this adversarial current to grow and evolve, to develop yourself on a deep, intimate level and fall into true vulnerability, you have to be willing to let go of the illusion. You have to be willing to make the decision between what is right and what is easy. You have to be willing to offer up your illusionary self, your self that represents who you thought that you have always been, to embrace something far greater, far more meaningless, and that holds far more potential than what you can consciously perceive. Satan is the personification of your true will that is so vast, so powerful, holds so much potential, so much value, but has been extinguished. The black flame, by default, has been extinguished because the majority of society would rather avoid what is true and embrace what is false. It's easier to strive for ascension and tell yourself that you are growing as a person and tell yourself that you are evolving, when in reality you are dissociating yourself. It may make you feel better. False ascension may make you feel better. You may feel better as a person. The goal of real healing and real integration is not to feel better the next day. It's not to spend the rest of your life frolicking through the flowers in spiritual dissociation. It's to embrace your truth and authenticity, your ongoing transformation, your ongoing deification. If you are ready to return to your fireborn consciousness, if you are ready to take accountability for yourself, if you are ready to be honest with yourself about your limitations, about your failings, and for your own divinity and for your own inner child, Satan is waiting for you. The black flame is calling you back to your own godhood, back to your own truth, back to that ongoing process that is healing. To truly walk the adversarial path is not for the edgy label of being a Satanist. It's not for the label of being an occultist. It's not for the label of being a black magician, a sorcerer, a conjurer of darksome arts. It's to commit your whole entire life to becoming more vulnerable with yourself, to sensitizing your nervous system and taking responsibility for your own primal self-retrieval, taking responsibility for the retrieval of your soul's essence, acknowledging that you are never going to be able to get there fully within this physical body, acknowledging that your own value and potential is far greater than what you can currently perceive, and that what your very minuscule conscious mind is able to perceive is only but a fraction of what is actually there. What you are able to perceive and see here and now is only a fraction of what the potential really is. Your conscious mind is a direct projection of pure awareness into an abyss of pure potential, which means that your own view of your value, your own view of yourself is not defined by that limited beam of pure awareness. It's defined by something much greater, something much more expansive, and something that's far more meaningless and far more powerful than what you will ever be able to fully perceive. Satan wants you to accept what you don't know. wants you to walk the path that is not clearly known, but is clearly right. So if you are ready to move into this space, he is waiting for you. Direct communication with Satan through invocation is the most powerful way to interact with Satan. To connect to this current on a deep level and approach him not to support your false self, but to offer him your false self. Offer up what is illusionary. Let him break it apart bit by bit to the extent that you are ready to undergo. This current does not want to harm. It wants to heal. It wants to be integrated. It wants you to integrate your own power and divinity that is represented by Satan, the adversary. So I think that is everything that I needed to speak about in today's video. If you need any assistance with connecting to this current of energy, check out the initiatory ritual on my Patreon. Tier 2, Adversarial Initiate tier. Monthly ritual is performed every full moon to throw you into the adversarial gateway, calling on the energies of Satan and the Da'ath, the Cliffothic Abyss, to deepen your connection to the void and to the pure potential. On my Patreon, I also have initiatory systems through the 9 gates of hell, all the way up to Satan, as well as channeled invocations of Satan himself. But for now, thank you guys. If this video was helpful to you, definitely hit like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Agia Satanas.